So Philly's a buzz, and New York is a buzz. 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, pro basketball playoffs, Game 6 in Philly as they host New York. I guess Michael Rubin is no longer an owner. He had been a part owner, but the guy from Fanatics, who's a Philly guy and an entrepreneur, nice guy. I've met him a couple of times. He ended up buying like 2,000 tickets so that the New York fans wouldn't come to Philadelphia and be heard, which I think is hysterical. Philly is a 3.5-point home favorite as they trail in the series 3-2. I like Philly tonight, I gotta say. You can bet more than the score. Bet individual player performance tonight, like player points, rebounds, assists. Live bet while you watch the game tonight. Plus, baseball and golf are back. Hockey playoffs too. Bet it all on the BetParx sportsbook and online casino app. BetParx is always adding new casino games. The Fire Blaze online casino games, the exciting Capital Gains online slot game. Go check it all out. Have some fun. It's the only app that I use. Odds and bets and slots and games right in your pocket. BetParx, they've got a great offer for new users. Download the BetParx online casino app right now and get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. That's for new users only. The casino bonus has to be wagered. Terms and conditions apply. See the website at betparx.com for details. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. BetParx. Got to be 21 and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So the poll question today on this Thursday, it's the perfect poll question given the campus unrest and the events early this morning at UCLA. I'm asking, should President Biden be more condemning of those responsible for campus unrest? And I'm motivated to make this the poll question today, reflecting on some of the calls yesterday. I had a discussion with Mark Halpern after a caller said, do you think President Biden will have a Sister Souljah moment? Because up until today, President Biden has been mum. Well, I'll give you what the Associated Press reported. President Biden has been mum about student protests and police crackdowns as Republicans try to turn the campus unrest over the war in Gaza into a campaign cudgel against Democrats. Tension at colleges and university has been building for days as some demonstrators refuse to remove encampments and administrators turn to law enforcement to clear them by force, leading to clashes that have seized attention from politicians and from the media. But the president, is kind of walking this fine line where he doesn't want to alienate youthful voters, particularly where he's trailing in the battleground states, trailing in the national polls as well. And at the same time, doesn't want to concede, the pro-law enforcement, white working class vote to Donald Trump. So what's he to do? In response to repeated requests from reporters, Karine Jean-Pierre has offered no explanation as to why the president had not spoken up until today more about the campus unrest. He's made no comments through today since last week when he said only briefly that he condemned anti-Semitic protests. It occurs to me when I talk about a Sister Souljah moment that some might be wondering who exactly is Sister Souljah and what might Sister Souljah's moment entail. It's a reference to Bill Clinton. The date was June 13, 1992. She, a rap artist. Did you tell me, TC, that she's now a novelist?
A successful novelist.
Really?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Is she still under the nom de plume?
Yes.
Yes, is she? No. She's still Sister Souljah.
Beautiful covers, Sister Souljah.
Really?
80,000 Instagram followers, like completely a novelist.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 1990.
Simon & Schuster, like a real novelist.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. So 1992, in the wake of Rodney King riots, do I have to explain what the Rodney King riots were?
Yes,
oh,
you
my
do.
God. Come on. No, I don't.
I think we've learned this, that especially given that it's the campus unrest, these kids are 19, 20. You do.
So Rodney King was a motorist in Los Angeles. He was speeding. By the way, one of the more memorable interviews that I have done was the day that I interviewed Rodney King.
Yes.
He was a great, years later, but he was a great radio guest. I read his memoir. He's gone now.
Right.
But he was speeding, and he tells his whole backstory about how it began. And then when pulled over by the LAPD, they beat him. It was captured on video, not in a smartphone era, which makes it all the more remarkable, but by a guy who had a new, my God, I remember when our kids were younger and I used to walk around with that thing on my hand all the time. But there was a guy who had a new video camera, and by happenstance, he saw the disturbance, he recorded it. It became a huge moment, shined a light on the excesses of police force and police violence, I should say excessive force by the LAPD, led to riots. Do I have to also explain who was Reginal Denny?
I mean, you're in for it. You might as well just keep going.
Oh, my God. So Reginal Denny was a white guy truck driver who was driving through, I think it was East L.A. I might be wrong about that, but definitely in Los Angeles. And the mob descended upon him, and then he was beaten to a pulp. I mean, it was just like a horrible series of events. And so in the wake of the Rodney King riots, the uprising in Los Angeles, because of the outrage over the beating of motorist Rodney King, Bill Clinton then scored points by condemning the rhetoric of Sister Souljah before the Rainbow Coalition. That's what's important. The Rainbow Coalition was a civil rights group founded by, or run by at the time, Jesse Jackson. So, he was kind of in the lion's den. It's not just that he said these things, is that he said these things in front of a black audience. And the takeaway for Joe Biden is to say something strong at the risk of alienating your base. But it played well, not only for President Clinton in the room, but outside the room as well, particularly enhancing his appeal among what I would say were moderate or conservative white voters. It's about a 2-minute clip. It's an important piece of history. So here's the lesson. When you hear reference to the Sister Souljah moment and people wondering if Biden is due for one, this is what they're talking about.
Finally, let's stand up for what's always been best about the Rainbow Coalition, which is people coming together across racial lines. You talked about Mr. Fields from Louisiana that you had here last night, a great role model. We don't have a lot of time to do this. We don't have a lot of time. You had a rap singer here last night named Sister Souljah. I defend her right to express herself through music. But her comments before and after Los Angeles were filled with the kind of hatred that you do not honor today and tonight. Just listen to this, what she said. She told the Washington Post about a month ago, and I quote, "If black people kill black people every day, why not have a week and kill white people? So you're a gang member and you normally kill somebody? Why not kill a white person?" Last year she said, "You can't call me or any black person anywhere in the world a racist. We don't have the power to do to white people what white people have done to us. And even if we did, we don't have that low-down, dirty nature. If there are any good white people, I haven't met them. Where are they? Right here in this room. That's where they are."
Applause.
I know she is a young person, but she has a big influence on a lot of people. And when people say that, if you took the words white and black and you reversed them, you might think David Duke was giving that speech. Let me tell you, we all make mistakes, and sometimes we're not as sensitive as we ought to be. And we have an obligation, all of us, to call attention to prejudice wherever we see it. A few months ago, I made a mistake.
All right, now he's going to talk about his golf game.
I joined
you
a friend
get
of mine, and I
You
played
get it.
golf.
So from Peter Baker in the New York Times today, President Biden, who has personally stayed relatively quiet during the college campus protests in recent days, plans to speak out against anti-Semitism next week at a ceremony hosted by the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum Annual Days of Remembrance. Will that or something before then be a Sister Souljah moment for President Biden? Go vote on today's poll question at Smerconish.com, where I'm asking, should President Biden be more condemning of those responsible for campus unrest? Certainly not condemning of those who are exercising a speech right, including the ability to criticize Israel policy and the IDF relative to Gaza. That's not at issue. No one I've heard is saying that there's not a right to be engaged and vocal and critical on that issue. The question is whether some of the violence that we saw at UCLA or taking possession of campus property, in particular like we saw at Columbia, is something worthy of his condemnation. And of course, the blatant anti-Semitism that has been a part of some of these campus protests. Will it be a Sister Souljah moment for President Biden? We'll find out. More headlines from the Thursday edition of the Smerconish.com daily newsletter. TC, yesterday, 23,364 votes were cast. Did Kristi Noem just help or hurt herself? The key part of the poll question, with Donald Trump. Okay, we all know, I think we all know that she made a fool of herself by revealing this barbarism committed against her dog, much less the goat. I notice nobody is speaking for the goat.
No one is speaking for the goat.
I'd like to speak for the goat, the ornery goat that she also put down. And by the way, do you remember the story about the goat? She wounded the goat and then had to go back and get another shotgun shell to take out the... So that goat suffered.
Oh, stop.
And nobody's talking about the goat.
Stop. Okay, no. Let's
So,
just not talk
but
about
the question that I asked is where Trump is clearly not a dog guy. How do we know that? Because he hasn't had one. And also because of the montage that we ran yesterday where every time he wants to denigrate a political opponent, it's always like a dog, choked like a dog, cheated like a dog, lied like a dog. Everything is like a dog. So I wondered, maybe, it doesn't hurt her with Trump. On a personal level, perhaps that's the case, but he has to recognize that she's just a loose cannon and frankly, a little bit wacky, right? So what did the poll say? 23,364, 81.01% said it hurt, even with Donald Trump. You, I know, want to tell me that she was on with Hannity last night.
She was on with Hannity last night, and I think you will be interested. His first question was just okay, tell us what was going on. And here's the end of that question and her response, because I just want to see what you think.
Tell us in your words why it came to that decision. I mean, unfortunately, dogs that are violent sometimes have to be put down. But I guess people, because you shot the dog, is there a difference which way you put a dog down? I'm not really sure, but I don't think people understood it. I want to give you a chance to explain.
Well, Sean, you know how the fake news works. They leave out some or most of the facts of a story. They put the worst spin on it. And that's what's happened in this case. I hope people really do buy this book and they find out the truth of this story, because the truth of this story is that this was a working dog and it was not a puppy. It was a dog that was extremely dangerous. It had come to us from a family who had found her way too aggressive. We were her second chance, and the day she was put down was a day that she massacred livestock that were part of our neighbors. She attacked me, and it was a hard decision. And the reason it's in the book is because this book is filled with tough, challenging decisions that I've had to make throughout my life. And I hope that people understand from this that what the point of this story is that most politicians, they will run from the truth. They will shy away and hide from making tough decisions. I don't do either of those. I tell the truth and I make tough decisions.
I have
People
to say, I go back to what you said about why she said it in the book. And even listening to that about run away from the truth. I think you had it right. This story was going to come out.
She wanted to get ahead of it because everybody in South Dakota knew this was the deal.
The opposition research.
I'm mindful of her word choice because now she's aware of the blowback and she's had a couple of days to get the talking points together. So it's now a working dog, not a puppy,
right?
That massacred livestock, massacred her word choice,
attacked her,
and then attacked her.
Right,
like this vicious animal had to be put down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So. Yeah, I think she's done, but she's good color. Remember, he's a guy who Trump is a guy who likes there to be a reality show each and every day. She's a very good Omarosa.
Yeah, let's see
She's
what
a
happens.
very good foil.
Let's see what happens.
By the way, today is Thursday, which means it's a Steve Breen day in the newsletter, and I love his cartoon, and of course I look at it and I say, this is going to look great in the book.
Yep.
It is a voter talking to a pollster saying, Biden's age doesn't bother me. And then in the next frame, but I don't like the way that he relies on a walker. And who is or what is the walker? It's a mule, a donkey, a Democrat that says far left, and they are the ones steering the president, which ties into what I was saying a moment ago about his response or lack of response to the campus unrest, where he doesn't want to alienate that base. So it's really great. And something else that I think is really terrific is from 538. They and the way it began, TC, is it said, some say Congress is a lot like high school.
Right.
But who lawmakers vote with isn't necessarily who they sit with in the cafeteria. And it's an analysis of congressional clusters. I know you're all saying Congress is a cluster. No, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, what are the 8 clusters? 5 of them, these are quiet caucuses. And they say that an algorithm produced 5 Republican clusters and 3 Democratic clusters, reflecting more division among the GOP conference than among the Democrats. I think you'll really love it. Check that out. There's also a great LA Times story that I clipped today about whether dying people have a right to try. You remember that legislation, the right to try? Does it extend to magic mushrooms? The Ninth Circuit was going to have to weigh in on this case. The question before one of the nation's highest courts is involving a Seattle-based palliative care physician, meaning just trying to like ease you into the twilight, appealing a U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration decision barring him from prescribing psilocybin to his late-stage cancer patients. More than 40 states, including Washington and California, have such right-to-try laws in place. Congress passed that federal version back in 2018, but the DEA denied this physician's request, arguing that the therapeutic use of psilocybin remains banned even for terminal patients. Any thoughts on your part on that?
I read it, but even just seeing the headline, my answer was yes, of course. If someone
let
is
them do
dying,
whatever they want to do.
Are you kidding me? Yes.
Right.
The answer is yes. Please.
Absolutely.
And
I was thinking of it as a poll question, but it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah. So to me,
at least according
to
us,
I thought it was well done.
New York having a construction boom for panic rooms.
Yeah, this stuff is unbelievable. I love the beginning of this. He can
go ahead, read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you read it.
Okay. So Bill Rigdon can build you a closet that locks from the inside and has electrified door handles. He can install a device in your walls that will shoot colored pepper spray to temporarily blind intruders and stain their clothes for easy identification should they try to run. He can fortify your walk-in pantry with ballistics-grade composite to withstand nuclear fallout. He will also remind you that you need a place to pee while writing out the end of times.
True.
He talks about how he once had someone who had a whole plan where 13 to 14 people could stay, yada, yada, yada. There was no bathroom. So he will help you. He will make sure you have all the necessities.
All right. Panic rooms on the rise. It kind of ties into the question that we had 2 days ago, poll question about whether the U.S. was in decline and facing some end of times for our, not reign, but our dominance. A la the Austro-Hungarian Empire or Rome. So that is a really interesting story. I also appreciated this and flagged it and put it in the newsletter today because we've been talking about political correctness, and Jerry Seinfeld made the observation in an interview that he did with New York Magazine that there's just not comedy on TV the way there used to be. I'm doing this from memory, but he said that on any given night you could tune in and watch MASH, or you could watch Mary Tyler Moore, you could watch All in the Family. There were always going to be laughs. But today you can't find that, and many people are flocking to watch comedians do live shows or support comedians in their Netflix specials, and he maintains it's all because of political correctness. So Vulture.com published 18 jokes that Jerry Seinfeld would be canceled for amidst all this cancel culture if he told them today. Anything jump out at you?
Well, I mean, a lot of them jumped out at me that I didn't understand why that they would be canceled. Like, I was expecting to see some really edgy stuff.
Right.
And it's very much more the sort of the jokes about nothing and everything that you and I talk about. Like, did you ever go to a big party, go into the bathroom, flush the toilet, and the water starts coming up? This is the most frightening moment in the life of a human being.
True.
Okay, that's true, but why would that get him
Yes.
canceled? That's hilarious. And like we all have had that feeling like, oh my God. So I thought these jokes were great. I did not see them as any kind of canceling situation.
Well, I love his humor. I love Larry David's humor. I think they're both geniuses because of their ability to accentuate that which unites and not divides us. Like the joke you just told is one that doesn't require membership in the Republican or Democratic Party in order to laugh,
Human.
right? It's a great example of just the common ties that we all maintain in those everyday episodes of life that we can unite around, which I think is a good lesson for the day. All right, please make sure you're voting at Smerconish.com on today's poll question of the day. I think it's really a great and timely one. Should President Biden be more condemning of those responsible for campus unrest? We'll give you the result on that tomorrow. TC, please tell us again, TC After Dark has dropped today.
Yes, it has. And it is a love affair of deviled eggs. It's hysterical. It's my ode.
You're either a deviled egg person or you're not.
That's my point. Yes.
Do you sprinkle paprika on the top of your deviled eggs?
Just listen.
Gang, give TC some play for TC After Dark every Thursday. She drops a new episode. See ya.